I never imagined I'd be forced to choose between my dying father and my husband. The call came at 3 a.m. My dad had suffered a massive stroke. I scrambled to pack, but Barbara, my mother-in-law, arrived before I could move, claiming I couldn't leave. "Your husband needs you," she said, her eyes sharp and controlling. I tried to argue, but she pushed past me, rifling through my suitcase. That's when I noticed the envelope my father's last letter slipped among my clothes. Barbara grabbed it, sneering, unaware that its contents would unravel decades of lies and change everything. I always believed life would test me someday, but I never imagined the moment would come crashing down in the most painful way, forcing me to choose between my dying father and my own husband. I didn't know one woman could twist everything so deeply that I'd be pushed to the edge. But Barbara, my mother-in-law, made sure that choice landed squarely in my lap. It was 3 o'clock a.m. when my phone lit up with the hospital's number. The kind of call everyone fears. Dad had suffered a massive stroke, the doctor said, and they weren't sure he'd survive the week. My hands shook as I opened my laptop, trying to book the earliest flight to Seattle. Fighting the rising panic in my chest, that's when David's phone started ringing loud, sharp, insistent. "Mom, it's the middle of the night." David groaned as he answered. Then his expression changed. His eyes grew wide. "No, Mom, you cannot come here right now." A pause. "What? How do you even know about Sarah's father?" His voice faded as his mother's shrill tones blasted loud enough for me to hear every word. And before I could even zip my suitcase, Barbara was on her way. Exactly 20 minutes later, she was banging on our front door like the police. She marched in wearing a silky pair of pajamas under a designer coat, her perfectly sprayed silver hair looking as stiff and flawless as ever, like not even sleep dared to touch it. "Sarah, you absolutely cannot leave," she declared, brushing past me like she owned the house. "David's big presentation is in 3 days. He needs his wife here." I tightened my grip on my phone, trying not to explode. "Bruh, my father is dying. I have to go." "Oh, don't be dramatic," she snapped, waving her hand. "Everyone's father dies eventually, but David's future, that's happening right now." She turned to him with a pointed glare. "Tell her, David. Tell her how important this presentation is." David looked trapped between us, uncomfortable and helpless. "Mom, it's her father." "Exactly," she said coldly. "Just her father. You are her husband, and the Bible says a wife should cling to her husband. Leaving now, that would be abandoning your vows." For a second, I was too stunned to speak. In 4 years of marriage, Barbara had already tried to control where we lived, what we ate, how we spent holidays. But this was a new level. "I'm going to Seattle," I said, firm as steel. "David understands." Barbara's face froze into something icy. "If you get on that plane, don't expect to come back. I will not let my son stay married to someone so selfish." "Mom," David finally protested. "You can't say that." But she ignored him. She reached for my half-packed suitcase, unzipping it with sudden fury. Clothes spilled across the floor as she began yanking items out. "I raised you better than this, David," she scolded. "A wife should put her husband first always, and Sarah has never understood that." As she scattered my things across the floor, something slipped out from between my sweaters. A weathered, soft envelope with my name written in my father's shaky handwriting. I'd been carrying it for 2 weeks, his last letter. Barbara grabbed it before I even moved. "What is this?" she sneered. "More emotional tricks from your family." "Give that back," I said quietly, the words dropping heavy. "That's private." "Nothing is private in a marriage," she said, already tearing the envelope open. "Mom, stop." David tried to take it from her, but the paper was already in her hands. She skimmed the first lines, and all the color drained from her face. Her fingers trembled. This is impossible," she whispered. I knew exactly what part she'd reached. The night 30 years ago when a young panicked Barbara Matthews showed up at my father's law office begging for help. "Keep reading," I murmured. "The part about the adoption papers might interest you." David blinked. "Adoption papers? Mom, what adoption papers?" Barbara crushed the letter in her fist. "These are lies. All lies." I pulled out my phone, opened the email I received last week. "I have copies of everything," I said calmly, "including the documents you asked my dad to destroy, the ones proving you adopted David when he was 3 days old." Silence swallowed the room. David stared at her, realization hitting him like a tidal wave. Mom, the perfect mask she always wore cracked. Dark streaks of mascara slid down her cheeks. "I did it for you," she whispered. Your real father. He would have ruined everything. I had to protect you by lying to me my entire life. David's voice broke. By giving you a proper name, she insisted. The Matthews legacy. I made you who you are. I bent down and quietly refolded the clothes she'd thrown. My father kept your secret for 30 years, Barbara. He buried every record, created a new identity for you. And now when he's dying, you try to stop me from saying goodbye. Barbara sank onto the couch, shoulders shaking. The crumpled letter slipped from her hands. David picked it up, flattening it carefully. I'm going to Seattle, I said, closing my suitcase. And when I return, we are going to talk about everything in that letter, including the truth about David's biological parents. Don't, Barbara whispered. Please. But David was already reading, turning paler with each line. Mom, what did you do? I left them like that. Her sobs echoed toward the door as I stepped outside. Dot always told me the truth finds its way out usually when people least wanted to, and tonight it finally had. Dot. As I got into my Uber, my phone buzzed. Dot, go be with your dad. I'll handle everything here. And Sarah, thank you for showing me what real loyalty looks like. I stared back at the house. Barbara's perfectly controlled world unraveling thread by thread. Soon she'd face everything she fought to hide, but that was for later. Right now, I had a plane to catch. My father needed me, and nothing was going to stop me this time. The airport was calm at that hour, though my thoughts spun nonstop. Dad's letter had protected me from Barbara for weeks, but I never expected to use it like this. On the plane, I pulled out the other letter, the private one Barbara never saw. Sometimes hiding a secret becomes its own kind of cruelty. Dad had written. Your mother-in-law needs to face her past, and David deserves the truth. Promise me you'll be gentle with it, Sarah. Truth is a powerful weapon. As the plane lifted, I prayed I'd done the right thing. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The adoption was only the first crack. Dad's letter held even more secrets, ones that would shake the Matthews family to its core. But first, I had to say goodbye to the man who taught me honesty, even when it hurt. The hospital hallway felt like it stretched on forever as I followed the nurse. I reached Dad's room just in time. He was barely conscious, but when he saw me, he smiled, weak, but full of love. My Sarah, he whispered. You came? Of course, Dad. I held his hand gently, shocked by how fragile it felt. Nothing could have kept me away. He squeezed lightly. Barbara tried, didn't she? I nodded. She found your letter. He closed his eyes a moment. Then it's begun. David must be reading everything now, Dad. Why didn't you tell me sooner about Barbara? About what she did? He shifted, wincing in pain. It wasn't my secret to tell, sweetheart. Not at first. Not until I knew. Knew what? That she'd try to control you. The same way she tried to control everyone else. When you married David, I hoped she changed. But then I started hearing things. He paused, breath unsteady. The way she tried to isolate you both. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Mom finally told me everything about my real parents. About what she made your dad do. I'm so sorry. Sarah, do. Dad saw my expression soften into tears. Read it, he said. You should rest, I whispered. What I need, he said, voice faint but firm, is to know that I did the right thing. Read it. So, I read the messages, all of them. How Barbara confessed, how she admitted the truth about the adoption, how David's biological parents hadn't abandoned him, how she used her family's money and influence to pressure a struggling young couple into giving up their newborn son. She thought she was protecting him, Dad said softly, protecting him from poverty, from scandal, from a life she thought wasn't good enough. He took a slow breath. Barbara Matthews could not stand the idea of her son being born to a teenage girl and a mechanic, so she bought him as if he were an accessory. She gave them 50. Oh, he continued quietly, and promised he'd have every advantage. His voice weakened further. I helped her make it legal. Hid records. Changed documents. It wasn't right, but she convinced me it was best for the child. A nurse came in to check Dad's vitals, frowning at his dropping oxygen levels. I knew our time was running short. Dad, there's more in that letter, isn't there? Things Barbara has an idiot. He nodded slightly in my desk. There's a safe combination. AC birthday. Everything's there. The original adoption papers, the payments, and in the letters from David's reel. They wrote to him every year on his birthday. Barbara intercepted them all. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. The massage made my blood run cold. This is Thomas Cooper. Barbara Matthews told May you found out about my son. Please, is David okay? Dad saw my expression. His father, he whispered. Still working at that same garage in Portland. Never left in case David ever came looking. The nurse returned with a doctor. They spoke in hushed tones about declining stats and making him comfortable. I felt the precious minutes slipping away. Dad, what do I do? David's whole world is falling apart. His mother isn't who W thought she was. His real parents are still out there wanting to know him. How do I help him through this? Dad's eyes were dead, getting heavy, but he managed Asma's smile. The same way you've helped him all along, with truth and love. Barbara built her life on lies, trying to create the perfect family. But real love, it's messy and complicated and honest. His breath and become more labored. The doctor stepped forward with a concerned look. One more thing, Dad whispered. In the safe, there's a trust fund. I've been ding dot. Every payment Barbara made to keep me quiet. It belongs to David now. His mother's money should go to him. Mr. Harrison, the doctor said firmly. Yan need to rest now. Dad, squeeze my hand in last time. Tell David. Tell him I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. And Sarah, I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Those were his last coin words. He slipped into unconsciousness hour later, and by midnight he was gone. I sat by his bed until dawn, thinking about families built on lease and the cost of keeping secrets. When checked my phone again, there were dozens of messages from David struggling to process the truth. A Boothist origins from Barbara. Alternate Tingwent threats and pleading, and more messages from Thomas Cooper asking for just one chance to explain. But it wastes last message that made me catch my breath. A photo of a woman with David Sam gentle eyes holding a birthday cake with a single candle. The caption read, "This was David's first birthday cake. We made one every year, hoping someday he'd know how much we loved him. I'm his birth mother, Angela. Please can wed." I stared at the photo, seeing all features David had inherited. The shape of his smile, the curve of his cheeks. For 30 years, Barbara had hidden this from him, had stolen not just his story, but his choice to know where he came from. As the sun rose over the hospital, I knew Dad had been right. He'd done far more damage. It was time for healing to begin, no matter how difficult the process might be. I gathered my things, ready to head back to the house where Dad's safe held Becky to unlocking the rest of the story. Barbara's carefully constructed world of perfection was about to crumble completely, but from its ruins made something real could finally grow. That drive to Dad's house felt surreal. Every corner held memories, but now each one was tamed with the weight of secrets heckered. In his study, the safe opened with a soft click. My birthday just ash sat inside. Decades of carefully preserved documents told a story Barbara Matthews never wanted revealed. Birth certificates, adoption papers, and a stack of letters bound with faded blue ribbon. But it was the bank statements that made my hands shake. For 30 years, Barbara had paid my father $5,000 every month to maintain her secret. He divested every penny, building a trust fund that now held over $2 million. Attached was a note in Dad's handwriting. For David, the truth comes with a price. This money was earned through silence. Let it now speak, Volis. My phone rang. It was David. Emit them, he said without preamble. His voice was raw. My biological parents, they've been living in Portland all this time, just 3 hours away. Angela Mibberth's mother, she works at a library. And Thomas, he still has the first car he was going to give me. I clutched the stack of letters. Are you okay? No, yes. I don't know. He took a shaky breath. Mom, Barbara, she's completely lost it. When she found out I contacted them, she threatened to disinherit me, to tell everyone I'm having a mental breakdown. She's already called the family lawyer. David, there's nothing else you need to know about Booth money she paid my father. As I explained the trust fund, David went quiet. Finally, he said, she bought their silence, and then she bought your father's. He saved it all for you. Every penny. I don't want her money. Then you seek to build something new. I suggested your birth parents started a scholarship fund for teen mothers. Did you know that? After losing you, they wanted to help other young parents keep their babies. The silence stretched between us. I could hear muffled voices in the background. Warm, hesitant voices so different from Barbara's calculants. They're not perfect, David said. Finally, Angela was 16 when she had me. Thomas dropped out of high school to work full-time. They're nothing like Thean's mom wanted for me. But Sarah, they kept every birthday card they wrote me. 30 years of cards I never got to read. Do you want me to bring you theaters from the safe? Yes. No, I don't know if I can handle more truth right now. He paused. How did your dad do it? Keep this secret for so long. I looked around Dad's study at the photos on his walls. Me graduating law school, my wedding day, casual family dinners, moments of truth mixed with carefully held secrets. I think I said slowly, Hugh is waiting for the right time for when truth would heal instead of hurt. Is there ever a right time to learn? Your whole life is built on lies. Maybe not, but there's always time to build something new, something real. David W. was for a moment. Angela asked if we could have dinner together. All of us, even Barbara, if she's willing. She says, forgiveness is harder than anger, but it's worth it. I thought about Barbara, about the desperate young woman who gone to my father's office 30 years ago, determined to create the perfect family, about all the walls she built to protect her lies, walls that were now crumbling. What are you going to do? I asked. I'm going to have a dinner with my parents, all of them. And then he took a deep breath. Then he going to read those letters. Will you be there with me? Of course, Sarah. I'm sorry about your dad. He was a good man, even with the secrets. Who is? I looked at the trust fund documents one last time before sealing them in an envelope. He taught me that family isn't about perfect records or polished appearances. It's about love even when it's messy, especially when it's messy. As I locked up Dad's study for the last time, I thought about Barbara. She tried to buy the perfect family, but in doing so, she'd almost lost the real one she had. Maybe now with all the secrets exposed, she only learned what my father had known all along. That true love doesn't need to be perfect.